Hi everyone, welcome to the show. Today we have a good friend of mine, someone I've known for close to 20 years. Successful family man, successful businessman. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome Cecil Austin to the show.
Vic.
Cecil, welcome.
Thank you.
Why don't we get right into it? Who is Cecil Austin?
Cecil Austin. I'm born and raised in Brooklyn, New York. U.S. Navy veteran. I have a bachelor's degree in computer engineering, master's degree in accounting, master's degree in business. I'm the owner of C&H Insurance. Own a couple businesses, some good, some not. Currently in Connecticut. Been here for over 20 years now. Married for now 18 years and known my wife for about 30.
Wow.
Yeah, so we've been together some time. Have two beautiful kids, 17-year-old and a 12-year-old. Same. Who am I? I'm a kid from Brooklyn. That's that's the easiest way to say it.
Kid from Brooklyn. So I feel like there's so much information there that I want to tap into. So you went to school in Brooklyn. What PS school?
I went to PS 198.
198, and
Yeah.
then you went to junior high school or high school straight into high school?
I went to Huddy. I went to Huddy Annex. Then I went to Huddy, Maine. And people in Flatbush section will know both. And then I went to Midwood High School. Midwood Hornets, played football there, so people know me there. Went from there, went straight into the military. Went to the military at age 17. First duty station was San Diego. Second duty station was Hawaii. Third duty station was Korea. So I know people in the military right now. Do I look here or do I look at you? Does it matter?
Doesn't matter.
All right.
Whatever you feel comfortable with.
So people in the military are probably thinking, "Damn, he had a pretty good duty station." San Diego, Hawaii. Yeah. So I did all right. I've been blessed in a lot of things that I've gone after. The main thing for me though, after leaving high school, was the reason I didn't go to college is because I knew that I did not want to waste my parents' money. Because at the time, a lot of kids going in, they don't know what they want to do. I was one of those kids, didn't know what I wanted to do, but I know I didn't want to hang out on the streets because I knew something could happen. So I decided that I was going to join the military, figure out what I wanted to do, maybe come out and buy a property, become the next millionaire. And instead I went in, had a great time, met some great people, came out and decided that I needed to go to college. So it was a great experience for me because it led me in a direction that led me get an education because I knew I needed it.
Many of our viewers may not know this, but back in the day, and I hate saying that because I feel old when I say that. So back in the day, Brooklyn was a pretty, depending on where you lived, right? Brooklyn was a pretty rough neighborhood, depending on where you were. How was your neighborhood? And how difficult was it growing up there?
Well, Brooklyn is Brooklyn. There's rough areas, but to be very honest, my upbringing, the upbringing of my friends, people that I knew, we come from West Indian culture, so it was like ideal. We would go out, we'd hang out on the block, we'd play sports every day. We'd be out having fun, we'd be cruising around cruising around all over Flatbush, going to Kings Plaza, going to parks, playing football on the street, playing baseball. You can have this idea that Brooklyn is like, oh, you got to be tough and hard and, everything's gang, gang, bang, bang, bang. But to be real, yes, that is there. But luckily for my upbringing, it really wasn't the case. I had good people around me, which is always important for a good structure in life. And I had that from my mom, my dad, and from my friends and their moms and their dads. It's like you said something bad, it gets back to the parents, and then somehow it's going to get back to your parents. So you got to stay straight and narrow. Not to say that some people wanted to go that route, but wanted to go another route, but you really didn't have to in my neighborhood. Well, I'd say my neighborhood, with my group of people. Let me put it that way.
Right. You're one of the few people that I know that actually served in the military. Thank you for that, by the way.
Yeah.
And I have a lot of friends that have misconceptions about the military. I believe, based on what I've seen, all the evidence that I've seen that shows me that the military yes, there's risk, there's danger, but the values and the principles that you learn that you get out of it, right? The discipline that you get out of it is invaluable. Like it's so valuable. Can you share with our audience what you learned being in the military? And also maybe some some of the pros and some of the cons, so we can give both perspectives.
Well, I'll give you some of the cons. Some of the cons are you're going to be working really hard, right? It's a lot of work. For a lot of guys that have families, I feel for them because it's a tough place to raise a family, because you're committed to the mission, right? So if there's something that has to be done, for me and being in the Navy, we would have what we call Westpaks or 6-month deployments. So you're going to be away from home for 6 months, right? Whether you have a wife and kids at home, they're going to have to deal without you for 6 months, or if you have a husband and kids at home, they're going to have to deal without you for 6 months or more. And then you can be stationed somewhere for 2 years where you can't bring your family. That's a problem, right? You can imagine being away from your wife for 2 years and the kids for 2 years, and all you could do is like meet each other or come have trips over. That's a tough situation. But that's the mission of the military, right? You understand when you sign your name on that paper, you're basically signing yourself over to Uncle Sam to do what he needs to do with you. But it is a great experience for individuals that are coming out of school that don't know what to do. Because, one thing I always wanted to do when I was a kid is I wanted to live in Hawaii.
Right? Hawaii.
Because I used to watch Elvis Presley on TV, man. He made it look so good, and I was like, I'm going to go to Hawaii. So I got the opportunity when I was in the Navy, because scores and things like that from tests, to actually pick where I wanted to be stationed. And I picked Hawaii. So I spent 2 years in Hawaii. It was, on a ship, but I had some great time, made some great friends. It was a good experience for me. And if it wasn't for the military, very honestly, I wouldn't be able to meet my wife. So.
You met her in Hawaii?
No, I met her in Korea.
Korea,
yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay.
Her family owned a store in Korea. She was one of the first people I met.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing. That's a lot of great stories there. I also feel like before we start talking about your business, I think you have a great deal of experience. We both met early in our careers at an IT company, large IT company. I won't say any names.
Right.
Large IT company, and from there you've progressed. But can you just walk our audience through your progression before starting your own business, and then we can go into why you started your own business. But
with the company that I went to an engineering school, and my background was in computer engineering, computer science. So when we met, that large company was a great opportunity, right? So it gave us an opportunity to, get our feet wet in the field. We started off in the software distribution. I remember you were doing networking, and then came over to software distribution. And then from there, you went into project management, and then I went into team leadership and things like that. So it was a number of different things. You know how the company works. You do like 50 things and you get like credit for doing one.
Right.
So, but I eventually ended up in sales. Had good experience in sales, to the point where I was like, okay, what do I want out of, what I want to do in my life? Because the company that we worked for, and any large company, you have to understand, it became about profit, right? It's not about the dedication to the people that are working there, right? If it's cost effective from a business perspective to cut people so the profits show for the upcoming year, they're going to do it. So what does that do for a person that's been there for 10, 15 years to every year have to worry about, well, am I going to be on a chopping block to make room for the kid coming out of high school or college that's going to get paid a lot less? So it makes a lot of people uneasy. And I don't know about you, but for me, it was like I wanted to get away from that. I wanted structure, and I wanted to be able to say I have something of my own, right? And I decided at a point they were given the opportunity for me to move on and do something with my own business. I was like, I'm going to take that opportunity. So I took it. I was in the process of leaving. I was actually going to leave at the end of the year. Then I got the opportunity to say, okay, now you can leave with some money. I was like, I was like, cool, right? Right. So I took, and I had already done pretty well because like I said, I had planned to leave. I had savings already ready for the movement of starting my business and was ready to go. And then I got that opportunity, and I remember, this is kind of funny, the guys that were there, that I was with at the time, who was managing, said, like, what are you gonna do? And I wouldn't say anything. It's like, I'll be all right. I'll be fine. Because in their mind, they're thinking, oh, this is a shock. We're cutting people. I'm like, or we're giving people opportunity to leave, very honestly, because I could have done something else or just moved on. But I was like, no, in December, I was out. I mean, I was gone. I mean, I had the money there. I had the equipment purchased. I had the location. I was out. And then you tell me you're gonna give me money. I'm out. Let's go. Makes sense to me.
It's a good segue into talking about fear. So obviously, those folks that were talking to you were probably scared in the sense that, hey, what is Cecil gonna do? How is he gonna survive? Does he have something lined up? How is he gonna get another job?
Right.
You were probably a little bit older.
Yeah.
And there's always that fear factor. How did you overcome that, or how did you tackle that to make sure that you weren't scared, or you? Obviously, there was some planning and preparation because you mentioned purchasing the equipment. But how did you, before getting to that point, how did you say, you know what? I know that there's something bigger and better out there for me. Yes, I might fail, but I'm going to do it anyway. How did you overcome that? Because I'm sure at that point, like you said, you met your wife, right? I can't remember if you had kids back then.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
How did there's responsibilities, there's the payments, there's a lot of responsibility there. How do you overcome that fear of saying, hey, I'm just going to take a leap of faith here and pursue one of my dreams?
Oh, that for me was kind of easy because I always had a long-term goal, and we probably had conversations about this when we were working there, right? And my long-term goal was never to work for somebody else, right? So it wasn't a matter of if I was going to leave and start my own. It was just a matter of when I was going to leave and start my own. So from a fear perspective, the fear is always there. You have to be crazy not to, at some point doubt yourself. But what the thing is, it's like my long-term goal is that I know that if I'm going to work for somebody else, and it's not bad, if you work for me, you might achieve this. But working for somebody else at that time, I knew I was going to get where I wanted to be financially, and I wasn't going to be able to leave behind what I wanted for my children, right? And the only way that I see being able to do that is to build for myself, right? To start my own company, to do things for myself and get myself financially to where I want to be. Have a little bit of control, because sometimes you don't have control over the situation, and that's just the way life is. But as much control as you can gain for yourself, you have to try to do that. And if you're going to bet on anybody, you have to bet on you, because nobody else is going to bet on you,
right.
So I looked at it from a fear perspective. It was like, I know that it's possible that I will fail, but if I get knocked down, I'm just going to get back up again. I can fail one business, and I'm going to start another one, right? Because that's exactly what I did, right? And there's nothing going to stop me from being where I want to be. And I think anybody that's going into business for themselves, they have to understand that. It's like it's not a bad thing to fail, right? You don't want to, but I guarantee you will gain more from that failure than you do from any other successes that you've had in the past.
Right. The failure. So I'm trying to do my best to use, or not to use negative words as much as possible,
I got
right?
you. Yeah.
So as opposed to saying failures, let's call them learning opportunities. Learning lessons, right? These lessons that you learned, and I think it's very important. I don't want to jump over it. This first business that you had, can you talk a little bit about it? What was it? What lessons did you learn?
Yeah.
And how did you apply that to your new endeavor?
Yeah. What the business was an environmentally friendly cleaners. So I wanted to do something totally different than what I was doing. I wanted to get totally out of IT, because I've been doing it basically since I was 18, because I was doing it in the military. Then I went into college. Then I got a job for almost 10 years. So I wanted to do something totally different. So we started environmentally friendly cleaners. And I want to do environmentally friendly because it's important to me to do something that's, I say honorable. A lot of people don't use that word anymore, but I use that word a lot because it means something to me, right? So, and what I mean by that is I wanted to do something that does not negatively impact my environment, and I mean community wide. I mean even my insurance business is exactly the same thing, and we'll talk more on that
Sure.
later. But I wanted to focus on something that would basically that I could be proud of, and that's how I do anything in business. If I can't be proud of it, I'm not going to do it, you know. So it was environment friendly cleaning. It required a lot of hands-on work, right? A lot of time, and you were there. You saw the amount of time I put in, the employees, the dealing with the town and the taxes and the customers coming in. A lot of hard work. It was a good business. We had it for 5 years.
Not to cut you off, but I gotta say that was the first time that I'll never forget it. I came to see you, and it was the first time that I actually could see work hard printed on your face.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
It was truly impressive.
Yeah.
And I said, wow, he's really doing it, but I could see the work hard. I
Yeah.
could see that in your face.
Yeah,
it was spelled out.
Yeah, it was a tough road because people don't realize how much physical labor goes into that. And you know what? It didn't turn out the way that I wanted, right? But it was the best experience that I've had in business. And the reason I say that is because it taught me so much about business. I mean, it truly allowed me to do what I'm doing now. Because even with the company that we worked for prior and being in sales and dealing with multi-million dollar companies and deals, I really got to feel comfortable with myself running that business, because ultimately what I wanted to do was run a business, right? So I got to feel very comfortable with being Cecil Austin, the owner or the businessman, right? And that was very important. That's very important with starting your business and moving forward. You can be a good leader can also be a good follower, right? But when you're a good leader, you have to feel that, right? You have to get that experience to lead and know what it takes to, try to move things forward. And even though it didn't work out the way that I want, getting into negotiations, finding networking partners, building the business, coming up with strategies for the business, knowing that, times are down, but you're still fighting to get to where you want to be. You're not going to learn that in a book. I've got an MBA. I didn't learn that in college, right? I learned that in business, actually doing it. And for some people, it might be fine to learn it actually in a book, and they'll be fine with that. But for me, the hands-on experience was really what made it.
How did you let this lesson, or what did you do to overcome this valuable lesson that you learned? In other words, how did you not let it stop you from continuing to pursue something else?
Well, because I looked at it for what it was. I looked at it as like, if I didn't do it, I would be sitting here today wishing I did. And there's nothing in my life that I wish I did, right? Because I'm doing if I want to do it, I'm going to get it done. I'm just going to do it. And to overcome it, I understood. It's like, listen, we went through hard times. These are the things that I did wrong, right? These were some of the issues that I found. And when I start my next business, I will not do that again. So it was just a matter of I saw where the business was going, and early on I saw that it wasn't going to get where I wanted to be. So I made that conscious decision early that I have to find another outlet, right? Because a lot of times you bet on yourself so much, you put everything in there, right? But you have to be realistic with yourself and say, okay, long term, is this going to be where I want it to be, right? So I was looking at it from a long-term perspective, and I was like, no, it's not going to get me where I want to be. So I've got to take some measures. So I started taking measures early on, about 2.5 years in, and I started preparing, and I was thinking about what type of career do I want, what type of business do I want in comparison to the business I have now, where have I gone wrong with that business, where can I eliminate some of those issues in the next business that I'm going forward with. And then I had conversations with people that I trust, that have been in certain businesses, Like for one instance, my mom, she's actually been in insurance business for 30 years, right? Cousins that are actuaries, cousins, uncles that own businesses, you know. So I've had discussions with these individuals, and I was like, I'm going to look at insurance as an option, right? I'm going to look at insurance. And what really drove me to say, all right, this is my next stepping stone from an insurance standpoint, so we're transitioning into that, was I had a piece of equipment in my shop that was key, and it broke down, right? And my commercial insurance package did not cover that. So I had to come out of pocket 13 grand to fix this piece of equipment. And not knowing insurance at the time, I was like, somebody did something wrong, because this doesn't make sense. I'm paying all this money, and I'm not covered for certain things. It didn't make sense.
Right.
So I was like, I honestly, from that point on, I said, I can do this better. I said, I can do this better than it was done for me. And not saying that the guy that I had at the time was bad. It's just that certain things weren't explained, right? And I didn't have that knowledge to understand what is missed, right? So I said, I can do this better. Like I said, had my conversations, and I set out to do it better, right? And that was it. So I was pretty confident with my next move, to be honest.
So how did you transition in? What did you do? What steps did you take?
Since, like I said, my mom was in the business for 30 years. I got cousins that are actuaries, so insurance is in the family, right? So from an insurance standpoint, it's about a matter of getting licensed. Once you get licensed, then it's a matter of getting experience, right? So I did a couple things. Once I got my license, I got affiliated with a current insurance broker in the area. And it's negotiated, because I was in business. It was easy for me to go in and negotiate what we would do to work together. And I just started doing some insurance for some of the guys that I would do from the cleaning business, just to try it out, because the cleaning business was still going. So I figured, let me try it out with them and see how it is. So I wrote some policies, and I was like, yeah, this will work. Started making a little money there. And I realized that I wanted to also do life insurance, right? Because that to me was important, because I always had life insurance for me and my kids. And I know family members also need life insurance, and I think it's very important. It's vital for someone that has children and wants to make sure that they're protected, to have that in place. So I started working with another company. I won't name names, but they've been around for 100 years, to get that level of experience. So I did very well there.
And this is still while you have
While I had the cleaners, right? So I'm doing multiple things.
You're running your own business while trying to build a new business.
Yeah. And then it got to the point that I was doing better. I was doing more in the insurance business than I was doing in cleaning. And like I said, I didn't see cleaning, the business itself, going where I wanted to be. So I made the step to get it to close it down. Close down the cleaning business and go full-time into insurance.
So before we move forward, I think there's one important piece. I said successful family man when we started. For those that struggle with, well, I have a family, I have kids, again, I have a mortgage, I have a lot of responsibility as it is, I don't really have time. You just told me that you were running your own business, right? Trying to build a new business, and at the same time, you still have a family. How did you manage all that?
Oh, that was tough. It was tough. It was probably tougher on my kids too, because my oldest was in school at the time, and our cleaners was known throughout the entire town. And, closing that down with kids, that can affect them. People saying things or whatever.
Right.
But as far as managing it, like I said, me and my wife been together for over 20-something years. We worked just as a team, so she had faith in me and what I would do. And I told her, when I saw the cleaners not going where we wanted to do, she was about to finish up her associate's degree, go for a bachelor. I was like, listen, you got to finish up your degree, right? Because it's important, right? So things don't stop because you have a business. You have to continue on doing other things, right? So I was like, you gotta get your degree. So she finished up her degree. So at the time, she's going to school. I'm starting one business, working on another business, and then we've got got the kids in school and everything. So it was a hustle. It was constant. It was nonstop. Financially, emotionally, we were just constantly moving and shaking. But we got through it as a team. Everybody. My oldest daughter, my youngest daughter was like 2 at the time, and we all just basically, we worked together as a family. We just spent all that time together. And oddly enough, that was one of the great things about it, is because when I worked at the other company in technology, I was going back and forth. Like, I was on a plane like twice a week. I'd be coming in once and staying for the weekend, and I'm out for the next weekend. Now I'm spending all my time with my kids and my wife. Even though we're building a business, working hard, we're doing it together, which is much better for me as far as time and spending time with them and getting those times in as they grow. It was great, but it was hard.
A lot of communication, a lot of tough talk or
tough
conversations.
Yeah. Well, me and my wife are kind of different. We I don't say different. I'm sure there's other couples the same damn thing. You and your wife, same thing. But we understood that we have a goal. See, that's the thing. We know where we want to be. The same conversations I would have with you you're not going to you're not going to be a billionaire or a millionaire working for a company. The same conversation I had with my wife, right? And she understands where we want to be. We want to leave something behind. We want a legacy left for the kids, right? So in order to do that, you got to take some risk. You have to take risk in your life. And if you're not taking risk, to be real, if you're not taking risk, what's the point? What you doing? I mean, if you get up every day, which is nothing wrong, get up every day, go to work. My mom and dad did it for 80, 70 something years. Get up, go to work, come back home, do it again, right? There's nothing wrong with that. But if you want to be at that next level, that's not going to do it. You will have a great life, you will have a great family doing that, but if you, in your back of your mind, you're saying, I want a little bit more, you're going to have to do a little bit, you're going to have to do a lot more. You're going to have to put yourself out there to take risk. You might get your head knocked off a couple times, but that can't stop you.
Good.
Yeah.
So what are you doing now in insurance?
From insurance, C&H Insurance, we do commercial insurance, we do personal lines insurance, which is home, auto, we do life insurance. We do that in Connecticut, New York, North Carolina, and Florida, right? So the plan is to go through the whole Northeast and then expand into the Midwest and West.
So I'm a little, not a little, I'm very ignorant when it comes to insurance, right? You just mentioned several states. What's the process for you to do business in these states? Because I'm sure the laws, things are different, right?
You have to know there's different laws, each state has like different type of rules from an insurance standpoint. You basically have to be licensed in the states, right? So I got licensed in Connecticut, I have licenses in North Carolina, in New York, as well as in Florida.
And how did you go about doing that? How did you get licensed in different states?
A simple process. Once you get the license here, you can basically get a reciprocal license there. Some require a test, some don't.
Okay.
So that process, as long as you have a license, you know the general process for insurance, right? What the parts of insurance are, what the laws of insurance are, like what you can and cannot do, what you can and cannot say. And you can just transfer that knowledge and that experience over into other states and go from there. The biggest thing about insurance is carriers. And when I say carriers, it's like you look online and then you see some of the insurance companies out there saying, I'll give you this 15%, call us and this and whatever. For me, I would have, from a carrier, they would be a carrier. For me, I would have 25 of them, right? Wow. So when someone calls me, instead of just looking at that one carrier, I'm looking at 25 of them to determine if I can find the best rate. So it's a lot different. Right? Whereas one person, maybe you call up I won't say any names, but you call up the local big carrier in the area. may rhyme with Smiko, right?
Right.
So you call them, and you get a rate, and they give you a price. You call me, I'll go through multiple carriers. Like I said, in the state of Connecticut, from a personal line standpoint, I have 10 carriers that I work with, and I will take your information and shop it with those carriers and see who comes back with the best rate. The one thing that I always make sure that I do, because it's very important to me, again, that word honor is very important to me. I don't skimp on coverage for price. So if you tell me you have a house, you have 2 kids, you have 2 cars, and then you tell me you want to get what they call state minimums for your auto insurance, I'll tell you I can quote it for you, but you need to have more coverage, right? And I'll explain to you why you need to have that coverage and how it's going to protect your family. And I'm going to give you a number with that coverage.
So without getting into too much detail, because I think it's very important that we educate our viewers. So coverage, insurance, I think anyone who has a car has insurance.
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot of people don't understand necessarily why it's so important. I mean, yes, you get into an accident, they cover you. But in general, why is insurance important? We can talk a little bit. I think it's important that we educate our viewers on that.
Well, it's a simple process. I mean, from an insurance standpoint, if you have a car, let's say you purchased a car in 2018, to fix that car in an accident may cost thousands of dollars, right? You may pay hundreds of dollars or thousands of dollars over the year with the insurance company. But if you get into an accident and you have like $13,000 or $5,000 in coverage, it'll fix your car. But let's say you got $13,000 in coverage and you killed somebody. Now they're coming after your house, they're coming after your car, they're coming after your retirement, they're coming after your kids' college fund. So that's why it's important, because it's not just protecting your car, it's protecting your family. And that's what you have to look at. It's like, what do you have to lose? You have to, when you're looking at insurance, you're not just looking at saying, oh, I want to fix my car. No, you're trying to protect what's important to you. And the more that you have, the more important that becomes. Because if you just live, nothing wrong, but if you don't have a lot of assets, right, you may not need as much insurance. But if you have home, you have a car, you have savings, you have retirement, you have plans for the future, one little mistake can eat all that away. It's almost like health insurance. Think about getting sick one time and what it costs going to the hospital, right? That's right?
I know very well. Yes.
Yeah. That's millions of dollars, right? Without insurance, they're coming after you for that check, right? So insurance is the most important thing that someone that is looking to really grow in their life or protect what's important to them is the most important thing to have, whether it be life insurance, health insurance, personal insurance, commercial. From a business perspective, my gosh, if you own a business and you don't have insurance in place, yeah, cause an accident or cause a problem in New York City and tell me you're not going to get sued, right?
Right.
And then you'll see the importance of it.
Yeah. What's your current plan or future plan for growth, expansion, your company?
For me, it's ongoing. Ultimately, where we want to be, like I said, is we want to have multiple footprints in multiple states along the Northeast and then over the next 5 years, right? Want to bring on more people to help grow the business. Want to focus on the carrier lineup that I have right now is actually very good. So I'm thinking probably to stay with that and maybe increase that a little bit more. We do commercial insurance as a good portion of our business. We also do personal lines, which is also a good portion of our business. Not just to sustain that, but to continue with a minimum of 25% growth a year. So, and that's not, to be very honest, for me, that's not an aggressive number. That's just a number you guys are going to meet. A number is a number, right? You just have to figure out ways to get there. And if from what we're doing with expanding out into different states, it allows us to be able to do that. But the growth, is consistent. To be consistent in growth and take the investment take what we gain here and move that into other investments to continue growth as an organization. So for me personally, I want to move out of being just an insurance broker to being a businessman, right? Where the brokerage is one of the businesses that is grouped together that helps my clients. So,
what are you doing right now to expand your clientele?
I'm doing it right now. I do a lot of networking. I'm on the board of a major chamber in the area. I network with a lot of small business owners. I'm a big proponent of diversity and inclusion in the area. I'm always trying to promote my business from a discussion standpoint, always looking to try to move other people up from a business perspective, always looking at other minority-owned businesses to try to communicate with those individuals to help them get involved and network more. A lot of word of mouth from my business, a lot of referrals. I have a lot of individuals that I network with that deal with people that need insurance. That's a big thing for me, making those connections. It's all about relationships, people trusting you. And when someone sends me a client, I take that very seriously. I try to move on it quickly, and I try to make sure that they get the best quality of service. And that's with all of my clients, because I want the experience I want you to have when you come to C&H Insurance is you understand, you get to understand insurance, right? Understand how it's helping you. And then when you're done and you sign on the dotted line that you want to do it, you feel that you did it to help you, right? And C&H Insurance helped that happen. So you're fine with saying, go to my guy. I want to be your guy. C&H Insurance should be your guy, right? I want to be that guy that you say, someone says, oh man, my car insurance is this, or I'm starting a new business, I need to get insurance. First thing you think of is, oh, my guy. Call my guy. He helped me out. Call him.
When you talk about networking, are you going to conferences, events? What are you finding is most successful when you try to meet new people?
Oh, no.
Besides word of mouth, I know you said word of mouth is big, but how are you? What are you doing on your own?
Well, I go to a number of events. I meet a lot of small business owners, large business owners, to be very honest, all types. Really, it's around building that relationship, having people know you, finding out what's important to them. It's not just going into a conversation and talking about what you want, what you need. A lot of it is around understanding what people are looking for, what they need, right? Because that's what insurance really is, right? It's finding that need and filling it, right? So you have a need to protect certain things, but you don't know really what insurance does to protect those things or how it protects you. So it's my job to help you understand that, right? So when you sign or write that check every month, you're not like, oh, I'm just throwing money out the window. You actually understand that there is a purpose to this thing. So when I go out, I'm going out to local networking events with the local chambers in the area. I'm going out to events maybe that a small business owner may be having for themselves. I'm talking to individuals. I'm getting referrals from individuals that are current clients of mine. And I'm working that area. And then I try to do some things on social media to push things out. But really, a big portion of my business is individuals that I've helped in the past that have driven business my way. And I'm greatly appreciative to that, because they stick with me and then they help me grow, right? And then I also have leads that I generate that I go out and pay for to help generate opportunities there. And oddly enough, when I do that, that leads into now those individuals then referring more and more business. So I get to the point where I need the leads even less as time goes on.
You just reminded me of a conversation we had many, many years ago about being a sales guy. Because I think at the time you and I both sort of considered ourselves not necessarily introverts, but we're not like your type A kind of guy.
Yeah,
we're not in your face. We're not that kind of guy. And people have this, again, misconception of, well, in order for me to bring sales, get any clients, I really need to be out there in your face. But But I want you to kind of like squash that, right? Because we talked about that. What skill set do you need to talk to people, to go out there, meet new people? How do you get comfortable doing that? How do you start a conversation?
Yeah.
What are those tips or techniques that you use?
Well, like you said, I'm an introvert, right? So what that means is I'm okay with sitting on my couch all day and doing nothing with no one around me. I'm perfectly fine with that, right? But, the thing is, when going out and talking to people, introverts are actually perfect for that because the relationships we build are real. Certain people that may go out and that have that outgoing personality and talk to everybody in the room type of thing, they're talking for 5 seconds and then moving on to the next, and then talk for 5 seconds and move on to the next. When we have a conversation, it's a full-on conversation. And the biggest thing is that we're listening. And that's the key thing about, being able to build a relationship or building comfort with someone is being able to listen to them, right? Let them talk, let them speak and hear what they're saying. And then if it's interesting to you, continue the conversation. Right. That's all anything is, right? You don't have to be, people say, oh, I can sell poop in a paper bag. It's like, why? It's like, why? Why do you want to sell poop in a paper bag, right? One, don't you want to find out if the person needs the poop? I mean, that's all, build a conversation, build a rapport. If nothing comes of it, you had a good conversation with somebody. What's the worst with that? You might go out to lunch with that person. You might not get any business for like 10 years, but you've met someone that, that down the line may help you or just be a good person to know, right? So my thing is, you don't have to be that sales guy. I'm not I don't sell anybody insurance, right? I educate you on insurance. You're smart enough to know if this is going to work for you after I talk to you, right? Does it fit your budget? Is it doing what you need it to do, right? Do you trust that I'm going to be able to help you if something goes wrong? Yeah, that's all that matters. If you're okay with that, then we're good to go. If you're not, no hard feelings.
Are there any side projects that you're working on?
Yeah.
That you'd like to talk about?
Yeah, well, I'm going to talk about just some things I'm thinking about. Some real estate opportunities that I'm looking at down the road. Like I said, look to be a business owner, not just an insurance broker. I truly enjoy insurance, but like I said, I have goals. So it's all about including that and adding something with it that might be able to help my clients down the road. So, yeah, so some insurance opportunities. Always doing things with education, and I'm looking at, a book. So
not just a book, right?
Yeah,
a little book.
Little things, a couple things here and there.
What can our audience do to support you?
Really, to support me, go to C&H. Go CNHinsurance.com. If you have some insurance needs, even a question, give me a call. Number's on the website, 888-844-6264. Give me a call, even if you have questions. And I tell people this all the time. I'm okay with answering questions about insurance, right? It's what I do on a daily basis. I don't expect a person calling me to know anything about insurance. And if I can help you, I definitely will. If I can't help you, I'll try to lead you in the right direction, right? But really, to help me support it, quotes for me don't cost anything. If you're starting a new business, you have questions about what you need, give me a call. I'll try to help you out. If you have questions about your current homeowners or auto insurance, or if you're purchasing a home, give me a call. You have questions about life insurance, which is very important to me, give me a call. We'll have a conversation, set up some time, especially on the life insurance. We'll set up some time, come down, talk about what you're really trying to do to protect that family, and I'll try to help you out as best as I can.
So part of the reason I started this channel or this show is to help inspire people, help motivate them. A few words from you to help inspire or motivate someone to follow their passion, their dream, take action today.
Yeah.
What would you tell those people?
Well, I would tell people, one, there's always going to be people that tell you can't do what you want to do. And for those people, ignore them, right? Because you can do whatever you want, right? The only person that can stop you from doing what you want is you. Second thing I would tell them is tomorrow's not promised. So that thing that you keep putting off to do tomorrow, you might not get it done. But if you do it today, you definitely will, right? So overall, any person that is really looking to start something new or do something for themselves, sit down, come up with a plan, and just do it. I had a guy, and I told you this story, when I was driving, getting my first driving test, right? I'm in the car, I'm all nervous. I practice, I know driving down pat. And I'm in the car, I'm getting ready to drive, and the guy that's doing the test, he knows I'm nervous, right? And so I'm, clutching the wheel and everything. And he looks at me and he says, just drive the freaking car. And from that point on, it was like, okay. And I just drove the car. Passed the test, got my license. And that was it. And that's what I would tell anyone. Just drive the freaking car. If you got an interest in doing it, do it. Don't let anybody tell you can't do it. Don't let anybody tell you, say, oh, you got to worry about this, worry about that. Yeah, you have to think about certain things, but ultimately you have to think about what is your long-term goal and will this help you get there, right? If it doesn't work out, so what? Right? You gained an experience. That will help you in moving on. Only way you're going to fail is if you quit. And if you decide to quit, that's on you, right? That's when you fail. But if you get knocked down and you get back up, you got a great chance of winning. I mean, all the best, all the richest people in the world that you know have failed or had learning experiences, right? You have to have that. You don't learn from everything going your way or everybody giving you what you want, right? So go ahead, take the chance, right? That's what I would tell them.
Okay. Final question. What positive change would you like to see in the world? And you can answer this in any way, shape, or form, whether it's locally, worldwide. What positive change would you like to see in the world?
I like to see empathy. Understand that there are people out there that need help, right? Have empathy for others, right? Don't tell me you go to church every Sunday, but when you see somebody on the street that needs help, or see some refugees that need to come into the country, or people dying from this, and just totally turn your eye to and say, well, that's not my problem. Or say something like, it's business, not personal. There is nothing in business that is not personal, right? People get laid off from their job, that's personal, right? You tell me that the cost of a product is going up 50%, like my drug medication is going up 50%. Trust me, that's personal, that's not business. Because you tell somebody that needs some medication, either you pay me $2,000 for this bottle or you die, and you tell them that's personal in front of their face, I'm probably thinking they're going to try to kill you before they die, right? It's all personal. So have empathy for others. If anything could change in this world, empathy. Because we have too much focus, in my opinion, on money being the answer for everything. Money defining who you are. Your position in life defining who you are. Your acts define who you are, right? There's some of the best people in the world that have passed on that you will remember for the rest of your life, and they're not rich people, right? But one of the major things that's told about, he's a good man, she was a good woman, always tried to help others, always cared about everybody else, right? Always tried to help where they can. If you focus on, how much money can I make today, and how can I be the biggest mogul, versus looking at the people around you and how can you make the community better, how can you make the lives of others better, then you're missing the whole point if you're not looking at that, right? So empathy is important. It's one of the most important things. It's honor. It's a part of being honorable, to be able to look at someone else and say, they have problems and try to understand it from their perspective. So if we can make that happen, I think the world might be a better place, but I'm gonna just do my part.
Ladies and gentlemen, Cecil Austin, this is Victor Moran signing off. Remember, be the positive change you want to see in the world. Thank you. Cecil, thank you, sir.
Thanks, man.